Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes, and welcome to a discussion on tonguing basics for saxophone and clarinet. Today I'm going to primarily be demonstrating the technique using the standard B-flat clarinet mouthpiece and tuning barrel. However, the concepts we're going to go through are identical for any of the instruments in the clarinet family and all of the instruments in the saxophone family. So whether you play bass clarinet or baritone sax or soprano saxophone, what we are going to describe is exactly what you will do, only on a different size mouthpiece and reed. Most of the how to play books refer to tonguing as using the tip of your tongue against the tip of the reed. Now we've got to be careful with what our definition of tip is. What we don't want to be doing is using the absolute tip of our tongue, the final point of our tongue, against the final edge, the sharp edge of the reed situated at the end of the mouthpiece. This is not how we tongue on saxophone and clarinet as our default tonguing. It is in fact a technique that we occasionally use on a reed instrument, but our default way to tongue on any of the single reed instruments is to put our tongue below the reed. And if you think of my index finger here as being the top of my tongue, and my fingernail as being roughly the area at the end of my tongue that engages with a similar area under the reed at the end of the reed. Not the edge of the reed or the mouthpiece. It's always the flat surface of the reed. So approximately the last centimetre or 1.5 centimetres under the reed is engaged by the same amount of your tongue, the flat part of the top of your tongue, like this. And that motion of resting against the reed and dropping away from the reed can be best simulated by what happens when we say the word two, T-O or T-W-O, the numeral 2. So 222, he lives at 222 Smith Street. Think of what your tongue does there. 222, 222. That's it in a nutshell. That is how we start and stop notes as a default way of tonguing on all of the clarinets, all of the saxophones, any instrument that uses a single reed as its tone generator. Now let's take that one step further. I want you to grab your mouthpiece and, if it's an alto saxophone, it's exactly the same concept, bigger mouthpiece, bigger reed, but what we're talking about, 222, exactly the same approach. I want you to put your tongue on the reed, the bottom of the reed, like this. Push all of that back in your mouth, so that all happens inside of your mouth, but then you push all that in your mouth and leave your tongue touching the reed. Now remember, we're not squeezing the reed, we're not putting any pressure on it, we're just resting our tongue, the last centimetre of the flat part of our tongue, against the last centimetre of the flat part of the reed. And then I want you to try and blow air through your mouthpiece and see what happens. Give it a go now. What did you find happened? Did you end up with this? That is, you couldn't blow any air through? If you did, well done. Congratulations, you're already using the correct technique. If you heard this sound, or any variation of this, any sound at all, any strange, weird note coming out of the mouthpiece, your tongue was not engaging with the reed correctly. In other words, for whatever reason, you're either touching the reed way down here, way down towards the ligature, or your tongue is touching the absolute edge of the mouthpiece, but it's certainly not where it should be. Because no matter whether it's the tenor saxophone, and this is a tenor saxophone mouthpiece, bigger reed, same concept. If I do that on the tenor saxophone, and then push my tongue and the mouthpiece back into my mouth and leave my tongue engaged with the reed, it's just impossible to get air through the mouthpiece. And that's great, because like the tap on a water pipe, a stop valve, our tongue is the stop valve for the air getting through to the instrument. And it's such an easy stop valve to operate. We can open and shut that valve as quickly as we can say toot-toot-toot-toot. It's absolutely the same as speaking toot. And that, I hope you find that exciting, because if you get good at going toot, 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 whatever rhythm you want to play, well, on your instrument, you can instantly articulate that rhythm. Now, of course, you've got to change the notes, and there's all that other drama of the technique of the instrument itself, the right fingerings and the octave keys and register keys, and all of those issues are separate. In today's tutorial, we're just, paring everything back to the most basic, fundamental way that we produce a sound on a saxophone or a clarinet. The reed vibrating is what creates the sound wave that is amplified by our instrument. Okay, so what you need to do is master the concept of stopping all air going through the instrument via your tongue. And the moment you release the tongue, the natural compression of, just like the stop valve or the gates at a water dam, the moment they open, the water just floods through, just rushes through. And that's exactly how you can get a very defined sound on a reed instrument, because the pressure of the air waiting for the tongue to drop just fires through your instrument in an incredibly defined way, and it gives you a really focused sound and real distinction as you start and stop your notes. So that's the William Tell Overture played on a clarinet mouthpiece. And of course, as we move our fingers, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, well then, as we change the pitches, our tonguing job doesn't change. It's that simple. Toot-toot, 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 toot-toot. Okay? Let's do some basic exercises. Get a metronome, set it at 60 beats a minute, and your first task is to try and tongue a 4-beat note. Just like this. 2, 3, 4. 2. Now notice at the end of the 4th beat, I put my tongue back up to where it started. So just like a drummer holding a drumstick and hitting a snare drum. You'll notice that drummers don't leave their stick on the skin of the snare drum. They put their hand back up to where it started. So we're a bit like the reverse of that. We start, in essence, with our stick on the skin of the drum and we're lifting it up and putting it back. But on a reed instrument, it's the opposite. We start with our tongue against the reed so that no noise is going to come out of the instrument until the exact moment that we want it to come out. We don't want to be having the instrument in our mouth and as we're breathing in and out going like this, like as our air's just, going out of our body. We don't want to be making any noise until the moment in music that we want to start that note. So our default position always on a reed instrument is with our tongue resting against the reed. That guarantees the instrument remains quiet, and when we drop our tongue, the acceleration of the air excites the reed into immediate action, a strong note is produced, and when we want to stop that note, we put our tongue back to where it was. And it's a really clean stop of the note. Now, that's not the way we always stop notes on a wind instrument. Sometimes we just stop it by stopping blowing. Okay, but for the purpose of this tonguing tutorial, I want you to get used to using your tongue to both start and stop notes. Okay, so our exercise is metronome on, 2, 3, 4. So tongue back up. Okay, and you need to do that however long you need to do to master that. Once you get good at that, you can either speed up the metronome. My preference is leave it at 60 beats a minute, and now try and play minims. Try and play two beat notes every 4 clicks of the metronome, every 4 seconds. So now we're going 2, 2. But you'll notice when I sang and animated that with my finger, I never stopped the sound. I didn't go 2, 2. Because remember, in music, unless there's rests or staccato markings on the music, the sound should never stop. So when we go to the minims, the 2 beat notes, it should be this. And you can just repeat that. And then obviously you can take it up to crotchets, 1 beat notes. So now we're going to go 2, 2, 2, 2. Again, we never stop blowing. The water's coming out of our tap over the kitchen sink. We never stop the flow of water. We don't reach for the tap to turn the water on and off. We just articulate that water with our tongue, the same way as you could chop the water with your hand before it goes into the sink. Okay? Crotchets, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Again, take your time, get it under control. Do repeats of 10 of those. Play a bar, stop a bar, leave your metronome go, and make up your own exercises. And finally, you can go to quavers. So at 60 beats a minute, we started off playing one note that lasted the 4 beats. Now we're playing 8 notes in that same. We went from 1 note in 4 seconds to playing 8. So we've exponentially put the pressure on our tonguing technique. But even though we're now playing 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, the sound should never stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I hope you've got the idea. The real magic in learning tonguing is to understand that your tongue is the stop gate. It's the valve that decides whether the air is going to pass through your mouthpiece, and when it does pass through the mouthpiece with the right velocity and the right compression, it will excite the reed into motion. It's your tongue that does that. Your tongue decides when the notes will start and when they will stop. And as I said, if you can get used to vocalizing what you're trying to play on whatever instrument it is, baritone, saxophone, if you want to go, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, well, the pitch won't change as you blow that on the mouthpiece because you need the rest of the instrument to change the notes and actually play da 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 da. But on the mouthpiece itself, it would sound like this. That's what that melody would sound like on a baritone saxophone. Okay, I hope that's been of some use to you. One of the most common problems I see in students who come to me, and this is not only beginners, this is people who have been playing 25 years, is an inability to easily start and stop notes correctly with their tongue. And when we finally get to the point of understanding how simple it is, from the day we were born, we've used our tongue to articulate words. Well, in music, we're not saying words. We are simply using it as a valve on and off, and we're duplicating what we say when we use the 2 syllable. Okay, as always, keep in touch via my website, www.brianhayes.biz. That's B-I-Z. Drop me an email if you've got any basic questions on music fundamentals. I'm more than happy to answer some basic questions via email. Or if you want to arrange an online Skype lesson, Skype lessons are available for students all around the world, and it's a great way to interact and share knowledge and hopefully help people help themselves become better players. Okay, bye for now.